Okay, somebody sent in this problem, so again, as usual, I'll send it to the entire class. 200 people were tested, 64 found to have blindness. So the first thing, I guess the only way this is going to work is if n times p times q is more than 10. Q is simply 1 minus p. So in this case, to find p, you just simply do 64 divided by 201. And q is 1 minus p, okay? And then you multiply that times n times q times p and see if it's greater than 10, which it will be. So here I set this up to save time. Now, I set it up in this spreadsheet because I sent this spreadsheet earlier to you. We're not creating a minimum sample size calculation, but there is a z-value we have to calculate that's part of this spreadsheet, so may as well just use it. It's already there. You don't have to use any other feature on this spreadsheet except for this one. And the confidence level is 0.91. So there's our z-value, 1.69 and so on, okay? So the first thing we want to do is find our p-value. Our p-value is, okay, how many yeses? 64 divided by the total number of men surveyed, 201. So then again, let Excel do the work for you. I'm just going to hit equal to 64, hit that, divided by a slash sign, 201, and there's your P, okay? All right, don't ignore these right now. We're going to calculate those as we go. All right, now the Q is going to be just simply 1 minus that. So we're going to hit equal sign, always hit equal sign, 1 minus the P, that's our Q, okay? Again, ignore these right now. They're calculating stuff that isn't relevant right now. So then NPQ, actually, I'm probably just going to get rid of these right now. Show you how to do it from scratch. Okay. All right, because you're not going to have that there. Okay, so NPQ is simply N times P times Q. So I'm going to hit equals, always hit equals, N times P times Q equals, okay? So N times P times Q is 43.6 and so on, 43.6 and so on. That's what's saying N times P, P hat, same thing, and 1 minus P is Q. So that goes here. And P hat, which is P in our calculation here, is this 0.318, and so on, okay? So that is that. So is the N times P times Q greater than 10? And of course, it's about 43. So of course, yes. So now we use the margin of error. The margin of error, remember the margin of error calculation is this z-value times the square root of P times Q divided by N, all under the square root. So do the equal sign again, equals this this z-value, which we found from the confidence level being 0.91, times, and I'm going to use parenthesis here, and then SQRT, hit square root, okay, double click on it, and it's the square root of P times Q, again, just let Excel do all the work, just grab the cells, divided by 201, just type that, okay, and then that's N is the number of samples right there, that's N is the number of samples, and then I'm going to close the parenthesis. Now, this parenthesis right here designates that this is what I'm taking the square root of. This times this divided by this. Now I have to do one more parenthesis because I'm going to multiply all that times this z-value, 1.69 that I designated as B9, okay? So then hit equal. There's my margin of error, okay? And if you look, go up to the corner, there's what I typed in if you want to take a second look at how I calculated the margin of error, which is the most important part of this whole thing and probably the most tricky part. It's the square root of this times this divided by this, all multiplied by the z, okay? So then now it's really simple to take your lower. We just take the p hat, this one, so I'm going to hit equals. Let the calculator do all the work for you, or your Excel. I'm going to take the P, the lower is that P minus the margin of error, and hit equals. And the upper, again, always hit equals first, equals the P right here, plus the margin of error, plus the margin of error. And there you are. And so there's your answers for margin of error, lower and upper. Margin of error, lower and upper. So